All right, well, hello there, everyone. It is Friday, February the 11th. It's another glorious day here in South Florida. And I do have a very special guest with me here today, and you'll recognize her name, I'm sure. But I have with me April Crossley. So, April, say hi to everyone.
Hey, everyone. Thanks for having me, Mark.
All right, certainly. Thanks for being here. All right, so, April, if you can, well, everyone probably knows you're a real estate investor. But if you can, take us back to before you started investing in real estate. And you can tell us as little about a young April or as much as you want.
Sure. So I grew up out in the country, typical middle-class family. Mom was like working her way up the corporate ladder at a hospital, and my dad owned his own HVAC business. I hated high school. I had really good grades, but it was just too easy. Didn't really prepare me for college. I just didn't enjoy it. I actually had my son when I was 16 years old. So I have a 26-year-old son. So everyone's like, you look too young to have a 26-year-old son. I'm like, that's because I am. But when I had my son at 16, it kind of threw me into this whole world of I had to finish high school. I had to be a mom. I had to go on welfare because I couldn't support myself. And then I went to college while my son was young. So I was renting a house and driving an hour to college every day after I would drop my son off at daycare, and then coming back home and working 12, 16-hour shifts on the weekends so I could make some money. And so I was kind of going to college, raising my son and doing all that. And then I graduated from college with my degree in respiratory therapy. So kind of like a nurse, but we specialize in the lungs and we work with patients on life support. So I worked in trauma centers and critical care in hospitals for 13 years. Very grueling job. Healthcare is a very grueling job. You're on your feet 12 hours a day. You don't get to go to the bathroom and sometimes don't get to eat. And it's pretty brutal, depending on the type of hospital you're working at. But that's what it was like for me. It was just always very busy. And so I started building my real estate business while I was in healthcare. So I got my bachelor's degree for what I do in healthcare. And then I went back and wanted to get my master's degree so I could be the CEO of a hospital. So basically I was following in my mom's footsteps. Like my mom was published in healthcare journals. Everyone knew who my mom was. And I was like, I want to be my mom. I'm going to go to school and be my mom. I met my now husband, and he had 2 or 3 small rental properties in the inner city where we live. And he had a book laying around about real estate. And I was on vacation and I was bored, and I picked up this book and I started reading it. And I was extremely financially uneducated at this time. So when we were on vacation, I remember meeting my husband when we were dating and him saying to me, why do you rent a house? Because you work in healthcare and you make really good money. You should buy a house. And I'm like, why wouldn't I rent a house? Like I didn't even know why people bought houses and I didn't understand it. So then we're on vacation. I'm reading this book out of just boredom being on vacation. And it's talking all about people that own real estate and someone else rents the house from them and pays down their mortgage and they get to keep the equity. And I'm like, why would someone pay down someone else's mortgage and then they get to keep all that money? And he's like, that's what you're doing with your landlord. Like, that's what you're doing. And I was like, oh my gosh, why am I doing that? Like, I couldn't like connect the dots. I was just completely financially uneducated.
Right.
So,
well, let me ask this real quick. I'm curious. Do you remember what book that was?
The 1 Minute Millionaire.
And who was the author? Do you remember?
Oh, I don't. I just know it's a yellow and purple book. It has like purple pages in it. Yeah.
I've seen that book. I don't think I've read it though.
Yeah, it was, everyone's kind of like, loves Rich Dad, Poor Dad, that book. And I did not like that book. My husband loved it. He tried to get me to read it. And I'm like, this book just didn't flow for me, but the 1 Minute Millionaire really clicked for me. I really liked it. So what happened was I started like learning more and more about real estate investing because I was captivated by this book, So I got back from vacation and took like a free course, like a free seminar, signed up for like a $25,000 program. and I dropped out of my master's degree, my healthcare master's degree, went and told my mom, I'm dropping out of my master's program. I really want to be a real estate investor. And she's like, what? Like, she probably thought I was bananas. And so then I just started learning more and more about real estate and building my real estate business on the side while working in healthcare full time. And then after 13 years in healthcare, I was doing enough flipping houses that I didn't have to work in healthcare anymore. So I quote unquote retired from healthcare and retired into full-time real estate.
Okay, that's pretty cool then. And so when you first started, you were basically flipping houses, is that correct?
Yeah. Yep. So, and just slowly flipping, like maybe 2 a year or 3 a year, sometimes 1 a year. We weren't doing it. I wasn't like very aggressive about it. I was sending mail to sellers, and if they call, great. And if they didn't, that's okay. You know, I was busy with my full-time job, but yeah, we just slowly started flipping.
Right. Okay. And were you, I know this answer, I think, but were you in there doing the work yourself, or were you hiring people, folks?
So funny enough, because I own a company called Lazy Girl REI, I don't do it now, but I feel like in the beginning, you kind of do whatever it takes to get the deal done. And then you can get pickier as you go along. So in the beginning, we actually joint ventured with someone. So we brought the deal and he brought the money. And that's how I learned about private money, because it was a private money lender that our partner used. And then we got connected with him. But our role in the project, besides bringing the deal, was to do basically like the grunt work, like rip out carpet, paint some rooms. Like we had to put some sweat equity into this project. That was part, like our half of the deal. So in the beginning, we tried to do as much as we can. Like even when we started holding some single family homes as rentals, we would paint some of the rooms. I would try and change out light fixtures. I would try and I had an electrician teach me how to rewire like switches and outlets so I could change out all the like plate covers and everything the same color. Terrible idea. But I did a lot of work on my own. Yeah.
Okay. That's pretty cool. So how long were you flipping before you started buying and holding your properties?
So we did our first flip in 2004, and then we actually bought a 6 unit in 2005 or 2006. So I would say from 2004 to 2006, we were just flipping here and there. And then in 2006, we bought the 6 unit. And then honestly, we were really slow in 2007, 2008, because my husband at this point had his real estate license. And he was like, something is not like right with the market. And I don't think we should be buying. And the job I was at the time was very stressful. So I was very focused on that job. So we would just flip if something came up, but we weren't really buying and holding. And then when the market went bust in 2008, that's when we bought the majority of our rentals.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the thing. I've talked about this on my channel, but I wasn't involved in real estate during that time period. But I remember I was a stock investor, but I remember looking at property like, wow, some of these properties that were in some markets $200,000 are now selling for $70,000 or something like that.
Yeah.
And I was just like, I didn't know anything about real estate. So I was like, if I just had a little bit more money, I could go in this direction.
Yeah.
But I had also read Rich Dad, Poor Dad, I think shortly after it was released, and it didn't resonate with me. I read it and I was like, I can't do this. It's too much money. I was a police officer. Times were tight. And I was like, I don't have the knowledge or the income to get involved in real estate. And I kind of put it on a back burner for a long time then.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Well, what year was it when you left healthcare?
2013.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you had been buying properties after the market crashed, 2008, 2009, you started buying more properties. So by 2013, you had, I guess, a variety of cash flowing rentals that provided your income. And were you still flipping at that time also?
Yeah. So actually the way we did things is we never touched any of the money from our rental properties. So we had a bunch of single family homes. We actually sold most of our single family homes. We only have 3 left. They're our favorite ones, but we sold most of our single family homes over the past, I would say 3 years because of the way the market's been. So we would sell a certain amount every year based on whatever our accountant would tell us. Because I don't really like single family homes in my market, for my market. Every market's different. I just want to make that clear for people watching. So our rentals, we weren't really touching that cash flow. We're just putting it right back into the properties as they needed fix up or repairs. So flipping really replaced my healthcare income. Like my flip income became my income. So, instead of making whatever $45,000, $50,000 a year in healthcare, now I was like, okay, now I'm going to make 60,000 or 70 or whatever flipping houses. I did that for 3 years in a row. So I basically replaced my healthcare income and intentionally stayed at my healthcare job, even though I knew I already replaced my income, because I knew if I wanted to get pre-approved for cash out refinances on rentals, which is really the only way to grow true wealth is to hold rental property, I knew I had to show 2 to 3 years of income from flipping. So I was flipping and doing healthcare and making basically the same income for each for a good solid 3 years till I was like, okay, I'm getting out of healthcare and just going to do this full time. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, it sounds pretty good. So once you left healthcare and you're doing it full time, kind of tell us how your life has evolved since then. Just what you did with real estate and where that has led you to in more recent times.
Yeah. So I think you leave your job and you think everything's going to be amazing and like you're going to live in this sparkly, wondrous world. And it's not like that at all. So it's actually like 100 times more difficult to own your own business than it is to work for someone else. So while everybody talks about financial freedom. So while I liked it, I didn't really have a team. I wasn't partnered with anyone. I'm just kind of doing everything on my own in the flip business. So first, it was really lonely when I left healthcare. So I had to adjust to that. And then I feel like just wrapping my head around running my own business and not having to do everything on my own, that was a big learning curve for me. So I had to join a mastermind group to learn how to partner with people and get out of my business because I was doing everything by myself and honestly hated my life. There were so many times I was like, I'm just going to go back to healthcare. Like I'm going to quit and I'm going to go back to healthcare. And a lot of brutal, honest conversations with friends who were like, you don't need to quit. You just need to learn how to get better and do things better. And so I had to learn that from people who were better than me and were already there. So joining mastermind groups and hiring coaches really helped me to do that. So I went from basically a solopreneur who was miserable to partnering in my flip business and then eventually partnering on multifamily stuff so that I could invest passively in syndications and co-GP on syndications. And we just bought a mobile home park with a partner, stuff I would have never done before because you can't know everything and learn everything and do everything on your own because you can't scale. You can, but you'll be 98 years old by the time you accomplish certain things. So if I've realized that if I just can find really good partners and partner up with people, I can scale a lot faster and accomplish a lot more in a shorter period of time. And just selling a lot of our single family homes, I tell people when you start buying rentals, hold on to them for at least 7 to 10 years. And then I think you really start to see the payoff from them. So what happened is by this point, we had our single family rentals for 7 years and we started selling them, taking that equity and investing it passively into syndications. Cause I'm like, I can keep growing my own portfolio to 100 units or whatever, but I don't really like that. I don't really like being a landlord. I don't like doing all this work. It's a pain. So if I can just take my equity chunks of money, invest them in a syndication and still make the returns of real estate and still get tax deductions, I was like, that's so much easier, so much easier. So we started doing more of that and less worrying about how many units we owned and worrying more about financial freedom. Because when I left my healthcare job, everybody talks about financial freedom, but I was not financially free. And acquiring more units was not giving me any more freedom. But investing passively gave me a lot more freedom, like tons more freedom. And then that's when we hopped in the RV and left and went and traveled around the United States for a year.
Right. Well, if you can, because talk a little bit about syndications, because I'm doing investment. I have some investments kind of in a syndication or two different ones, but they're not like you would do, because I'm also investing in oil drilling and
Nice.
in mineral rights acreage. And that's, to me, after invest, I still have a rental property, but it's like that passive income every week, or not every week, every month, the money comes into my account, and it's like, I didn't do anything. Basically,
Nothing.
it's so easy.
Yeah. Syndication is really like, if you can find a good partner, like a good syndicator, to invest in their projects, that's what's most important. Like finding good people who have the same core values as you and really like know what they're doing and have been syndicating and know the whole model and the whole business. And then we would take like 100,000 and passively invest it. And I'll give you a great example. It's like, we're doing it into apartment buildings because I'm not educated about other stuff, but that's fascinating. I definitely want to talk to you about that. But I invest passively in apartment buildings. So we're in one in Texas, and Texas got like this freak storm, and the people, they had damage to the apartment building, and the people that owned it are sending out an email saying, hey, like, our distributions for this month and next month are going to be delayed because we're waiting to hear back from the insurance company, and we have to renovate all these units now from this ice storm and blah, blah, blah. And all I could think was, wow, I am so thankful I'm not dealing with that. Like, I'm not the owner. You have some ownership, so you get tax deductions, but you're not an active owner. You are truly passive. I send my money. They send me updates on the property and reports. And every month the check gets deposited in my account. I forget it's even coming. So when it comes, it's like, oh yeah, I got paid. Like, and I do nothing. I don't talk to tenants. I don't talk to the property manager. I don't do anything. If you want to talk about true financial freedom, that's where it's at. Yeah.
That makes sense. Because I know I still have 20 some single family homes, and they're not where I live at now. They're out of state. And I spend a lot of time, talking with my property managers or just finding out what's going on with the homes. But then with my investments in the oil and the mineral rights, I'm starting to see that it's like, if I had taken all that money and put it into real estate, I would be that much busier. But these syndications, it's like, it's giving me more freedom. Yeah. So with what you're doing, well, you know where I'm at. I was living in Virginia, and once I realized I was financially free, I moved to Southwest Florida. Just recently, well, I don't know how long ago it was, maybe 2 years ago or so, when you realized you were financially free, you took what I call a trip of a lifetime. Can you kind of tell us about that a little bit?
Yeah. So a little over a year and a half ago, we sold our house in Pennsylvania. And so my son moved out and bought his own house. And my husband and I are like, we don't have to live in one spot in particular. So why don't we just get in our RV and go? So for 2 or 3 years, we were snowbirding to Arizona. So we would take our RV and go out to Arizona for 3 months and come back so we could skip the whole winter thing here in Pennsylvania. And then when my son moved out, we were like, we should sell our house and just go travel full time, because we can, because now I have partners on things. I don't have to be here in one area where my real estate is. I can buy real estate anywhere in the United States because I'm partnering. So we were like, let's just go. So we left and went and traveled the United States for a year in our RV. And yeah, it was really, really awesome. And everyone we met was like, you're so smart to do this now. Like, we met a lot of people who were like in their late 60s or 70s or 80s. And they're like, we just waited till we retired at 65 and then did it. And I'm like, how terrible, because what if something happens to you after you're 65 and then you never get to go and never experience that, Right.
That's a good point. So basically now that trip is over and you're back in Pennsylvania, correct?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Okay. So, and one thing I meant to ask you, while you were still growing and you were flipping homes, and as you started getting to the point to leave healthcare, was your husband, was he still working as a realtor, or what was he doing?
Yeah, working as a realtor. Yep.
Okay. And when did he leave, or does he still work as one, or he has completely left employment?
He doesn't. He left. So he's like, I don't know how you describe it in the realtor world, because I'm not a realtor. He can still refer clients to other agents and he gets a referral fee, but he can't actively work as an agent. So he left the realtor world, I want to say 2 years ago. And my husband loves motorcycles. So he's just kind of like flipping motorcycles now, like renovating motorcycles and reselling them. And we don't really have that stress of like, he has to have a full-time job and I have to be making money. We just don't have that stress anymore because we're getting paid every month from syndications. And now we're at the point where we are utilizing income from our rentals as like our income. So yeah, he's not really he's into real estate investing, but not like I am.
Okay. That's interesting. So let me ask this then. Where do you see yourself going over the next 3 to 5 to even 10 years from now?
Yeah, I think within the next 3, I need to find a home, like where I want to live, like where do I want to have my primary home, my secondary home, and then a third home. So I know I'll have like a winter home, my primary home, and my second home. Not sure what state that will be. And I'm still figuring that out based on like where I want to work in real estate. And I feel like I want to do a lot more partnering on projects that matter, that are like meaningful. So like we bought the mobile home park in Tennessee, and I can honestly say it's the first big project I've been involved with that makes me feel like I'm making a difference and not just buying a building. So we bought the mobile home park and we have tenants in there that aren't financially savvy and might not make like the biggest incomes. So I went down there and met with them all and just kind of asked them, where are you at with payment for housing, food, and medical? Like, how can we help you to get to a place where you're not as stressed by your bills, whether that's connecting them with a food bank or connecting them with Section 8 so they can get a housing voucher, things they didn't even know about, or get them on some kind of like government insurance. I just want to really do projects like that where I can make a difference in communities and people's lives. So I've been super picky about things that I say yes to and partner on, because I just want it to be things that make a difference. Yeah.
Okay, that sounds good because I like that. I like trying to help people out. That's what I try to do with my channel. I'm trying to share stories to help educate folks so they can improve their lives.
Yes, yeah.
Well, good. All right. Well, maybe one day we can kind of, if you want to, we can always partner up on I call it an adventure, some new adventure somewhere.
Yeah, I'd love that. I'll come to Florida to meet with you so we can talk about it because it's way warmer there.
Oh, it is. Well, I love living. After spending the majority of my life living in places where we have winter, and now I've been down here for a year, I've said it on my channel, so folks who watch my channel know this, but I go swimming almost every day. I kayak maybe once a week or so. Yeah. We walk every single night, and we complain sometimes in the evening after dark if we go for a walk. We complain when we have to wear sweatpants and put like a jacket on. And but then we remember, we spent 3 winters in Maine where we saw snow from September through July. And so we really appreciate where we're at now.
Yeah, absolutely. Yep. Yeah.
Yep. Well, good. Great. Yeah. Well, good. All right. So we can wrap this up in just a couple minutes, but what I like to do at the end of every talk I have is just kind of turn it over to you. If you want to just say any words, any advice for anyone watching, or anything you want to say at all.
Yeah, I feel like the big lessons I've learned in real estate investing is that it comes down to valuing your time. Like, everybody thinks they want to invest in real estate and they want to own rentals and they want to flip houses, but I'm like, what do you really want? Like, what is your end goal and what do you have time to do and how are you going to get there? So not everybody has the time to be bogged down with rental properties and flipping. So then they should be investing passively into some type of syndication or REIT or whatever the case may be. I think really exploring all of your options in real estate, it provides a great return, but you need to pick what is a fit for your lifestyle. Like I still have the flipping business, but it's a very high volume. We send out tons of mail. It's very time intensive. I have a team that I work with. That's completely different than me writing a check for a syndication. So sometimes people come to me and say, I want to flip houses or I want to own rentals. And I'm always like, why? How much money do you have? And what do you have the time to do? And sometimes at the end of the conversation, they're like, okay, I really don't want to own rentals, but I want to partner with someone so I don't have to do all the work myself. So just make sure you're exploring all avenues of investing in real estate. Don't chase what someone else is chasing just because it seems glamorous. Yeah.
Right. That makes sense. All right. Well, cool. And I'll let everyone know how, if they want to follow you, what's the best way to follow you?
Yeah, you can follow me on YouTube. My YouTube channel is April Crossley, and you can check out my website, which is aprilcrossley.us.
All right, sounds good. And I'll put a link to your YouTube channel in the description once I upload this.
Thank you.
All right, sure. Thank you. Well, thanks so much, April, for coming on my channel. It's been great talking to you. And hopefully and hopefully we can do this sometime. So I'd like to, maybe in the future, I can talk to you and kind of dig more into syndications and kind of educate more folks on how to get involved with syndications.
Yeah, definitely.
So, all right, sounds good. Well, thanks again, April. So, folks, I hope you enjoyed this talk, and there'll be more great talks coming. So for April Crossley and myself, Mazske Finance will be signing out.